I'm going to share with you today about a topic that I've been working through personally. And so I have a personal story about, particularly as it relates to self-judgment, what I have seen in what I would call the bankruptcy of that function of the human condition, and how it gets in the way of us in the areas where we seek to show up confidently in life. Now, because judgment is such a huge topic, this could be like 5 videos on judgment. I want to clarify, first of all, acknowledge really what comes to mind when we hear judgment. Usually, when we think of we hear the word judgment, we think about judging others, right? Or perhaps the fear of being judged by others. This is something that has, as I shared in the last video about resistance, this fear of being perceived, something around what other people think or wanting to be liked, like this um, capacity of the human ego to compare, to worry about what other people are thinking. This is also judgment, okay? But what I'm going to focus on here in this video in particular is this dimension of judgment called self-judgment. And I will share with you a story, something that happened to me where I was able to see what I didn't know that I didn't know. I didn't see that I was judging myself. And once I could actually distinguish it, how powerful it was on the other side. And I'll walk you through how I got there. But let's first acknowledge that by judgment, I'm not talking about in this self-judgment context the function of the human mind to meaning useful discernment. Okay, this is just something that all human beings do. So it's really important as you watch this that if you think about instances where you're judging others or where you're judging yourself, please do not feel bad, because this is not unique to you. We all do it. But really, the journey is to learn how to be graceful with this function of the mind or the human ego, however you like to think about it. But we need to be vigilant about where that function devolves into something that impacts our confidence, especially in the areas that matter most to us, where we really want to show up and be confident. So judgment is also comparison, which we all do. But I'm sure you can relate to instances where you catch yourself you're comparing yourself to others, and that doesn't make you feel very good. Okay? So that is a form of self-judgment, is comparison. So if you're thinking, Andy, isn't judgment, doesn't it have useful functions? I'm not refuting that. What I'm saying is if it's left unchecked, it can devolve into something that actually creates a barrier between me and you. Or maybe you're walking down the street and you catch yourself judging the person walking towards you. That creates a barrier, a layer of separation that doesn't actually exist, but we create it in our mind when we're judging unconsciously. Or how often have you wanted to do something, but you're worried about being judged by others? This happens all the time for me. This is why, as I alluded to in my last video on resistance, why it took me so long to come back to YouTube. Because I was like, oh, I don't know are they gonna get it? Is it gonna make sense? Am I ready to film this? All of that, let's call that self-judgment. And I'll explain to you more about why I call that self-judgment. But I want to make this clear that when our intentions are good, whatever the area may be, okay, in relationships, in your work, wherever you see in the course of this video, you think of instances where you're judging yourself, if you recognize that your intentions are good and that you have something to contribute, this is where self-judgment derails those good intentions. And I want to share with you a story to give you some context for what I saw, what I noticed about self-judgment. I was in an ecstatic dance, which you may have heard of, you may not. Ecstatic dance is essentially there's music on, it's a group setting, and people are just dancing. This isn't about dancing with others, it's not a performance, it's just about self expression through the medium of dance. It's just about moving with the music. And as I was in this ecstatic dance, I what came up for me immediately was my relationship most of my adult life, since I had to dance Cotton Eye Joe in front of like 40 Costa Rican kids when I was 16, which was like horrifying. That's another story. But I had this relationship of dancing of I don't know what I'm doing. People are going to see that I have two left feet and they're going to think I suck at dancing, and all of that world is self-judgment, right? So in this ecstatic dance, that immediately started to come up for me. It's like, oh, what if people see me and I look funny? But almost immediately it faded away, because in this ecstatic dance container, the intention is to just express yourself. And I realized nobody cares how I'm dancing. Nobody's even looking. Everyone's doing their own thing. And that's what makes it so beautiful, is just the self-expression of it. And you're not worried about what other people are thinking. Or if you do start to do that like I did, you recognize that that's not what this is about. So in the process of this dance, something hit me. I was in Colombia at the time. So in Spanish, the phrase that came to me was, estamos aquí para amar, no para juzgar, which means we're here to love, not to judge. And that actually really moved me. It moved me to tears to see that I had been judging myself in many areas where I didn't need to be. Again, useful self-awareness, healthy self-awareness is not what I mean. Self-judgment in the context and the framework of where it actually makes us self-conscious. That is the impact of self-judgment when it just happens without awareness, where we judge ourselves and we don't actually need to. Much like, what are they going to think of me dancing? No one cares. So in the example of speaking, because I'm speaking to you here, there's been many times where I've wanted to say something, but again, there's been this separation caused by, I'll call it the ego mind, for, are they going to get it? Are they going to think I'm weird? And what's underneath that is this part of me which just wants to be liked. But when I recognize that that function rooted in fear is what was keeping me from recording videos, I got really interested in that. And I started to see I'm acting out of fear, or in this sense, not acting, not speaking, not sharing something that I feel like can make a difference for others. And oh, that's not what I'm committed to. So when I'm in that ecstatic dance and it hit me that I've been judging myself, it really moved me, because the facade that I had put up that kept me from contributing, that kept me really from opening my heart, did not have to be there. So I want to keep reinforcing this, because you're going to finish this video, you're going to go back out into life, and you're going to catch yourself judging others. You're going to catch yourself judging yourself. Please do not feel bad about it. Really, the work is to identify it, catch it, right? That's the first most important step, is to see where you're doing it. And then in that moment, you have an opportunity to choose, to come from something that I would say heart open, right? To be kind to yourself as an expression of love to yourself, not judging yourself for why you're not ready, or people are going to judge you. All of this is rooted in the ego mind, or whatever function you want to call it, of the mind that separates us from others. This is what creates disconnection in the world. And what I got that I really want to share with you today is there's so many times we do this where we don't need to. Okay? It's unnecessary, because when we judge and criticize ourselves, it impacts our self-confidence. It impacts how we show up in the world. We wouldn't hang out with someone who's constantly criticizing us. So why do we tolerate that with ourselves? So self-judgment can take very many forms, right? Let me just give you a few more examples, because I really, really want you to be able to see yourself inside of this as an access to where you're coming from, the false self, and where you have a facade or a unintentional layer between you and other people, or you and life, where you can peel that off and go through life expressing yourself as you choose to, as you want to. All right? So, self-judgment might show up like, oh, I can't do this. Do they like me? Do they accept me? Am I being funny? Am I being effective? I'm thinking in terms of a speaking example, right? But try this on for yourself. If you're presenting something, what if people don't get it, right? What if it's not good enough? What if it doesn't make the difference that I want it to, right? Again, healthy self-awareness helps us see where there is still work that we need to do. That's not what I mean. I mean, when we have good intentions and we know we make a difference, where do we get in the way to muddy up those intentions, or muddy up our the power of our message, or the power of the difference that we want to make with someone? So my point is, if your intentions are good, if you know you have something you want to contribute, this can be in any context, you don't need to judge yourself. It's unnecessary. If this is important to you in this area where you want to feel confident and you're catching yourself criticizing yourself, that self-critical nagging voice that we all have sometimes, why would we do that? Why would we question our ability or question our intentions when we know we have something that we want to give? That intention is sacred when we have something to contribute. Like me speaking. I really want to make a difference and see if I can bring words to this feeling to experience, so that you can experience that liberation from this unnecessary, unchecked function of human self-judgment where it does not need to be. So as you reflect on where you might be overly self-critical about yourself, right? Or even if you're thinking of self-judgment, thinking of judgment in the context of what will other people think, consider that's actually a form of self-judgment. Because we can't control what other people think. Yeah, people are going to judge all the time. It's just part of life. But do we stop short of what we are intending to do? Again, when our intentions are good, because of the fear of what someone else does, my invitation is for you to see that this is unnecessary to be worried about what other people are doing, which is just this figment of our imagination, which actually is rooted in self-judgment. Because underneath that fear of what other people may be thinking is this worry or this concern that we're not fill in the blank enough, good enough, smart enough, attractive enough, prepared enough, well-trained enough, right? This is the part where we don't need to, this is where we cause suffering for ourselves. So the liberation piece, as I can pick the areas of my life, as I see, for example, wanting to empower you as you watch this, as I sit in that good intention and my desire to contribute enough, the facade of not ready yet, or not a good enough speaker or not a smart enough whatever, that facade begins to crumble. And you can, for yourself, you can begin to see through it the more you can focus on the reasons why you are capable, why you can say something to someone to make a difference for them, why you can get up and give a presentation confidently, or in any realm that's important to you. You can find just as many reasons why you can as why you can't. It just matters what we're focusing on. So when you begin to arrive at this place that's rooted not in fear of not being enough, but instead rooted in truth of your good intentions, then the pull of self-judgment that takes us out of that truth begins to fade away. And you begin to feel this, like the power and the truth of your good intentions. And that's what I felt during that ecstatic dance. It's like, oh my God, I have been judging myself all this time. This wonder, am I gonna be able to speak to groups? Am I gonna be able to make a difference in my business? Was all rooted in the negative part of self-judgment, not the healthy self-awareness. I know where I need to improve, and I'm gonna be working on myself my entire life. But questioning myself was rooted in fear. And once I just was able to admit, oh, I've been scared, I've been afraid of what other people are gonna think. That's what I mean by that facade, that barrier that we put there that isn't actually there, began to crumble away. So, am I completely free of self-judgmental thoughts or judging others? Of course not. I catch myself doing it every day. But this is just one of the idiosyncrasies of being human, right? The stuff that our minds throw at us that it's just odd, or in the very least we can say it's counter to what's beneficial or empowering. So be it judgment when you catch yourself unintentionally judging others, or most importantly, because this video is about self-judgment, when you catch yourself judging yourself, be graceful. Because really, if we're judging or if we're loving, if we're coming from judgment or fear, or if we're coming from truth and love, it's entirely up to you. Estamos aquí para amar, no para juzgar. We are here to love, not to judge. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I trust that you've heard something here that gives you access to the truth and the beauty of your commitments in those areas where you want to show up confidently. Pay attention to what you're focusing on, because underneath the fear that comes up for all of us and that judgment, that facade, is something very powerful and very true that's unique to you and your desire to contribute. So honor that instead of all that other stuff. Thank you for watching.